Hi, welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. Today I have a demo for you all about Fisherman's Rib. Hi, welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you learn to knit the easy way. What on earth is Fisherman's Rib? Well, if you've been knitting for a while, you may well have come across ribbing stitch, which is all about switching between knit and purl stitches to give an elastic feel to the edge of your knitting. It might be on the band of a hat, it might be on the cuff of a cardigan or a jumper, anything like that where you need a bit of stretch. Now, Fisherman's Rib is just a bit more fancy. It gives you much denser fabric. Actually, it can be really nice and warm as well. I'm going to show you today all about Fisherman's Rib, and I'm going to explain as well how some patterns may be talking about Fisherman's Rib when they're actually talking about half Fisherman's Rib. So the important point is to look at your pattern, whichever pattern you're reading, and follow what that says. Some of the patterns I've read in the past where it's telling me I'm doing Fisherman's Rib, it is in fact half Fisherman's Rib. So just be aware of that. If I show you how to do Fisherman's Rib and you go and follow that, and then your pattern is saying something different, then you could end up just a bit mismatched in exactly how many rows you need to do for a particular finish and a particular length of knitting. So make sure you're following your pattern. I will show you how you do this now. There's just one particular stitch that you need to be aware of, and that is how you will be able to follow every other pattern that talks about Fisherman's or half Fisherman's Rib. So what is Fisherman's Rib and what does it look like? Well, Fisherman's Rib gives you a much denser, closer rib than you would get when you're just doing a single or a double rib. The rows are squashed together as well as the stitches being squashed together. When you knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, the stitches get squashed, and that's why they're so elastic. But with Fisherman's Rib, then you're squashing the rows together as well, and that's what you can see here. You can just where the Fisherman's Rib part joins the stocking stitch part, and that is denser. It's kind of sticking out a bit more, the fabric is thicker, and it really gives a nice touch. You're more likely to see it just as the band of a hat or the edge of a cardigan rather than all the way through it. But this was a really interesting exercise when I was knitting this. I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to show you the Fisherman's Rib now, and I'll explain how it differs from half Fisherman's Rib. So you can see here I've just started to knit. The first row will be casting on, and then you're going to do knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one along the first row. And then it will depend on what your pattern says, but on this particular point, I have been doing a knit stitch on the end of every row. It may be that your pattern says to knit on the end of every row or to knit on one side and purl on the other side. You will follow your pattern and you will know what that is all about. So Fisherman's Rib involves knitting one stitch and then knitting into the row below. I just move this pattern so you can see better. This needle now doesn't go into the stitch that's on the needle, it goes into the stitch that's sitting on the row below. So we're going in there, we're just going to pull that loop through as if we were knitting it, and we drop both stitches off of the needle. We then purl one, and then we knit below. It's not that stitch on the needle, it's the stitch from the previous row. And then we purl one, and then we knit in the row below, not on the needle, the one in the row below. We purl and we carry on like this all the way across the row, and I'll show you at the back that you can actually see what you've done. You can see how it's affecting the back of the knitting. So you can see quite chunky stitches there. Here, if I just do this first stitch, you can see that there are two loops around that stitch. There is one loop there and one loop there. Those two loops are there because we knitted into the row below. So we're going to do a purl stitch just to straighten that out, and then on this row we're going to knit below, and then we're going to purl, and then we're going to knit into the row below, and then we're going to purl with those 2 stitches sitting there on that loop. We're just going to knit purl into the stitch that's on the needle, and then we're going to knit into the row below and purl and knit into the row below. So what we're doing effectively is pulling these rows together by knitting into the row below on both sides of the knitting. We are evening that out, so on every row we have got that squashed effect. When you do half fisherman's rib, you only do knit 1 below on one side of the knitting. The other side of the knitting, when you turn it over, you will be doing knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. When you do a fisherman's rib row, you'll be doing knit 1 below, purl 1, knit 1 below, purl 1, knit 1 below, purl 1. So it isn't quite as squashed as if it was full fisherman's rib, but it still gives a very good effect. This is half fisherman's rib, and you can see that it's a really good effect already. Nice and thick. You can see the effect with the different textures of the stitch pattern that you're using. So half fisherman's rib is a really good effect too. Fantastic! I hope that was helpful for you. You now know how to do fisherman's and half fisherman's rib too. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if that was really helpful for you. And also, why don't you hit subscribe too and hit the little bell for notifications. You'll be able to see every video then. YouTube will notify you if you hit the bell whenever a new video appears. I release a new video every Tuesday, every week. I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Happy knitting.